What's going on, agents? Von Diegel here. Welcome to the channel and welcome to today's video. Here recently, a subscriber of mine asked me to help him with a build centering around the mechanical animal. He said he wanted to be able to do damage, he wanted some sustainability, and have good use of his skills as well. To showcase the build for this video, I went ahead and joined a random group for Heroic District Gaming Arena, and as we're loading in, this would probably be a good time to get all the, hey, if you like the video, hit like. If you want to see more, hit subscribe. If nothing else, please comment, hit like, hit dislike. Any kind of interaction is just good for the video. Now this first part right here, I actually made a mistake. I was using my sitar, which is my default gun for this build. It's got in sync on it, and it pairs well with the bullet drone and the bullet turret that I'm using. However, at the end, after this scene here, is when I switched to the mechanical animal. I went ahead and stayed with the mechanical animal for the duration of this mission, and we're going to go ahead and skip to the last room here so you can see what the mechanical animal can do fully fleshed out with this build. After that last kill, you'll see the 3 when I ADS that the arrow was just showing. That shows that I have the 3 skill tier, and if you look down now, I'm in overcharge as well. But that 3 skill tier means that this build now has 6 skill tier along with the other core stats that we'll get into just in a few minutes.
Agent down. System curtailed. System restored.
Now as we finish up the mission, we'll go ahead and take a look at the stats at the end. And remember, I did join these guys about halfway through the mission. So when we sit and we
An
take
agent has
a look
left
at the
your
numbers,
room.
we'll find that this build actually held up, winding up number 2 in damage and number 2 in kills. We're using the technician specialization with this build mainly for the amped passive talent that gives us +1 skill tier, and at times if I needed the artificer hive, which boosts all my skills. My primary weapon is the mechanical animal. It has the talent of future perfection. Weapon kills grant +1 skill tier for 19 seconds that stacks up to 3 times. Weapon kills at skill tier 6 grant overcharge for 15 seconds, and overcharge cooldown is 90 seconds. So every kill I get gives me a skill tier with this gun. And if I can get a kill every 19 seconds, I can keep all 3 skill tier on the build. My mask is a Fenris mask with rolled crit chance, crit damage with the crit damage mod. My chest piece is a Brazos chest piece that I changed from armor to weapon damage, rolled crit chance and crit damage with the crit damage mod, and the talent Unbreakable. When my armor is depleted, you repair 95% of my armor for a 60-second cooldown. Now I have 1.359 million armor with this build, and when it repairs 95% of that, if you add both of those together, that gives me an effective armor value of 2.65 million. My the holster is the Brazos holster. Two pieces of Brazos give a skill haste and a skill tier, which is where we get one of the skill tiers for this build. It's rolled crit hit chance, and also if you look, it has 15% weapon damage, which is the equivalent to a red weapon damage core, which is where I get one of my red cores from, even though it doesn't show up in the core values. My backpack is the Memento. It has a core for 15% weapon damage, 170,000 armor, and a skill tier, giving me 3 cores there, which go to the core value for the build. It's got a crit hit damage mod, and the talent is kill confirmed. Enemies you kill drop a trophy of death. Collecting a trophy provides both a short term and long term buff. The first of which scales with the number of core attributes equipped and lasts 10 seconds. So if you pick up a trophy and you have, let's say, 4 red cores and 2 blue cores, you're going to get 20% weapon damage and 20% bonus armor. If you have, say, 2, 2, and 2, you're going to get 10% weapon damage, 20% bonus armor, and 10% skill efficiency, and that'll last you for 10 seconds. You get one of those values for each core. And the long term buffs, you get 1% weapon damage, 1% skill efficiency, and 0.1% armor regen for 300 seconds, which is 6 minutes. 5 minutes, I'm sorry, for to a maximum of 30 stacks, which gives you a total of 30% weapon damage, 30% skill efficiency, and 3% armor regen. That 3% armor regen helps with the sustainability of this build. For my gloves, I have the contractor's gloves with damage to armor for multiplicative damage, and my knee pads are the Fox's Prayer knee pads that I rolled to armor, and there I have 8% damage to target out of clover for multiplicative damage as well, and that's rolled to crit chance. My backup gun is the one I started with, and this is usually my default for this build, is a sitar. It's got in sync as the talent. Hitting an enemy grants 15% skill damage for 5 seconds. And using a non-shield skill or damaging an enemy with a skill grants 15% weapon damage for 5 seconds. And if both of those are active at the same time, the buff is doubled to 30% skill damage and weapon damage. And this is why I usually normally use this talent with this build. However, I'd noticed that the mechanical animal does give me a little bit more skill damage, but it doesn't help with the weapon damage. But the skill damage increases, it overcomes the weapon damage difference. My sidearm is a M1911 with NSYNC as well. And the two skills I'm running are my bullet turret and the bullet drone. Now this is at skill tier 3. If we take a look at skill tier 6, I've got an extra 60% damage, and when I go into overdrive, overcharge, I'm sorry, I get an extra 55% damage on top of that. So when I go into overcharge, I have 115% extra damage on my bullet turret, and I believe the same. Yeah, it's the same thing for the drone. For as far as the stats, I've got 49% crit hit chance because I never know when somebody's going to be using a Coyote's mask, which really amps this build up. I got 117% crit hit damage with 75% headshot damage, 8% damage to armor, and 18% damage to target out of cover with the 10% from the mechanical animal and 8% from the Fox's Prayer knee pads. I have 88% all weapon damage bonus and 40% assault rifle damage bonus, giving me a total of 128% assault rifle damage bonus. And when I get the 30 stacks from the Memento backpack, giving me 30% extra all weapon damage, that puts my all weapon damage bonus up to 118% all weapon damage bonus with a 40% assault rifle damage bonus, gives me a total of 158% assault rifle damage bonus. And my defense, you see, I have 1.359 armor. And like I said earlier, with the 95% I get back from Unbreakable, that gives me an effective armor rating of 2.65 million. And basically, here's a card of the build. Here's what it looks like, and that's it for the build. If you do notice on the side, it says I have 4 red cores, 3 blue cores, and 1 yellow core. However, if you do look at it down on the bottom by the skills, you'll see I do have 3 skill tier as far as what my skill tier is. So when I get the 3 skill tier from the mechanical animal, that puts me at 6 skill tier. The 15% damage from the Picaro's holster doesn't show up on there. So if you actually look at it, when I get all my stacks up on my mechanical animal, I have an effective core rating of 5 reds, 3 blues, and 6 yellows, which gives me 14 core stats with this build. And that's why this build can do anything with 6 skill tier and 5 red damage with 2.65 effective armor. You can run any skill you want, especially like I said earlier about the Artificer Hive. You can put that on, and basically that Artificer Hive is going to buff your bullet turret 40%, which is going to give that 40% extra damage plus that extra 115. That give you 155% extra damage once you hit overcharge with that. So that's the build, folks. Let me know what you think, and we'll see you in the next one. Von Diegel out.